Are you looking for the magic to make your life truly count? Do you want the secret formula to make every day your best day yet? Hello, and welcome to the Finishing on Fire radio show. And now, here are your show hosts, Dave Wadsworth and Greg Vance.
This is exciting because what we've got for you, the listener, this is stuff that will help you every day of your life. This will uplift your relationships, your work relationships, your home relationships, your social relationships in every way. And that's exciting to us. And but what we're going to focus in on today for our episode is actually about our spouse. And so as men, Greg, you and I, we've been with our spouse. How long have you been married? You and Sherry?
That is a dangerous question to ask.
Only if you're dumb enough to not know the answer.
No, we've been married 33 years, and so this will be 34 this year in October.
Awesome. We're headed into, Glenda and I are looking at 36 years, June the 1st, 36 years. And we've actually been together close to 40 years
Nice.
that we've been a couple. And we both wanted to finish college and then get married. Of course, when I was at Purdue, I was walking across the stage. I got my diploma cover, and I had to check it, open it up to make sure that I actually had the diploma in there, because I wasn't sure all my classes were going to clear, because I transferred some in from Vincent University, and I thought, I don't know if I'm actually going to graduate. And so I'm thinking, oh my gosh, we may have to go into married student housing or something here at Purdue. And so I was like, my head was kind of scrambled at the time. But once I got it, we were in the Elliott Hall of Music, and it is a fantastic music auditorium. Oh my gosh. It's like world class, the Elliott Hall Music at Purdue. And so there's I think there's 6,000 seats or whatever there, and Mom and Dad were there. It was awesome. And I'm up there on stage, opening up my cover to make sure before I cheer, and say, hey. So
make sure it's not
Linda
a blank.
Yeah, it's like, sorry, sucker. You didn't get it. You've been too much of an Indiana Hoosier fan. There's no way we're going to give you a diploma from Purdue. If you're from Indiana, you know exactly what I'm talking about, because Indiana University Hoosiers and the Purdue Boilermakers, they do not like each other at all. And honestly, and Greg, you graduated from Indiana.
I was going to say, see, we like each other. Yeah.
But of course, I tell people I'm the only guy in the world that wears a Purdue class ring and has an Indiana Hoosier cell phone cover, that I carry around with me all the time. So, I tell the folks at Purdue, I said, the only reason I went to Purdue is because I flunked out of IU and I had to go to an easier school. And so they hate that. Oh my gosh. They get really upset about that. I don't know why, but really growing up in Southern Indiana, I was a Indiana Hoosier fan, especially basketball. We were winning, national titles and championships, and it was fun. And we won, the Big Ten championship so many years. And then the wheels came off. Of course, we've been to the finals and the Final Four, the final game several times, but we just haven't come up for several years. But we won 5 titles, and I'm excited to be a Hoosier fan. I had to go to Purdue to get my degree, and that's okay. They're a fantastic school, fabulous school. But getting back to my wife, Glenda, we weren't sure about our marriage. Well, we were sure about the marriage, but I graduated, and then 2 weeks later, June 1st, we got married. And then a week after that, we moved to our new home, and then started our life together and started my new job with the U.S. government at the time. So pretty cool. A lot of changes, but Glenda, she has been with me for a long time, and Sherry as well with you, 34, I guess, years.
Yep.
If you're like me, Greg, I tell people that Glenda has really basically earned her angel wings or her halo, because she has put up with so much crap from me. It's not even funny. And of course, it's just a matter of communication and caring and respect
Mhm.
and true love. And we love each other. Sometimes we don't like each other too much, but we love each other. And believe it or not, Greg, and you'll probably say this too. I don't know. I don't want to put words in your mouth unless Sherry's listening in the background. But
For
I
for
tell
the
Glenda,
recording. Yeah.
I tell her on a regular basis. Maybe it's because I'm forgetful and I forgot I've told her, but I say, I say, Glenda, we've been together. We've been married almost 36 years. I said, if I had a choice, I'd do it all over again.
Mm-hmm.
And to me, that's the biggest compliment, that I can give her, is I do that. Of course, she's going like gagging, like, oh man, don't put me on. So don't ask me that question. The truth be
Yeah,
told, oh,
but
it's been,
you're spot on. I mean, it takes if you think about how you communicated when you first got married versus how you communicate now, hopefully there's a night and day difference. I mean, it's just you get a lot better at it. You think back and you think, oh my gosh, how did we survive in the way that maybe we approached each other and all that. So wow.
yeah. A lot of changes, and you have to be committed. You really do, because it's easy to walk away, and that's what a lot of people do. They just walk away. So, but we've grown together, and we've just gotten to the point where we're just very comfortable, because we like being around each other. We like doing things together. Now, I
Right.
wouldn't want to work with her 24 hours a day, have a job. She says she couldn't work with me, but, I don't know that I would want to do that, because I think we need our space. Matter of fact, today she had a Zoom call with her lady friends. She has, there's like six of them, 6 or 7. They call them, they're called the LRS, the Ladies Relaxation Society. That was named by one of the husbands, because they would just hang out around the pool in the afternoons. They'd take the kids and they go to this one family, husband and wife, and they had a daughter, and they had a big swimming pool. It was nice. And so they would go out there, and when they could, some of them, work different jobs and things, but they hung out at the pool and just really had a good time. And that's what he called them, the Ladies Relaxation Society. And they met today on Zoom. They had a Zoom call, and it was great. And she needs that. She needs her female companions, her friendships. She can talk about things that she can't really, well, we just don't connect so much on, because she needs a female friend, to kind of talk things out. And I'm so happy because they support each other. One of the ladies, her mom just passed away just a couple weeks ago, and so it's been pretty raw for her. And it was just nice for them to be able to talk and all each other come around, and help out and stuff. And so, and that's what our subject we've talked about here in the last, several episodes is about, losing loved ones, people dying, in our family, our friendships and so forth. And, we're at a point, Greg, where we've either lost or we're losing our parents for sure. And then also our siblings, we've lost siblings too. I haven't, but I know you have. And then now the biggest thing we can think about now is our spouse.
Mm-hmm.
What would we do if we lost our spouse? If our wife died today, where would we be? What would be that next step? And so that's what we're talking about is the death of our spouse. And we've got a lot of information. We want to send you to our website, finishingonfire.com. And we have information there and about each episode and so forth. We have stuff there you can look at. We've got the book, The Finishing on Fire book on Amazon. The subtitle is Live Your Legacy of Purpose, Passion, and Prosperity. Really, I'm not going to say it's a well-written book because I wrote it, but but it's got a lot of ideas. I think that will really help you through these things. And actually, to me, it's a good prevent defense or just, I guess, what would you call it? Call to action before you have the regret of losing someone and then you didn't finish the business of
Right.
saying what you needed to say, doing things that you needed to do, and really taking care of business, because all of a sudden they're gone. What are you going to do? And so what we're trying to do is help you, the listener, really be on top of your game and finish strong, finish on fire, but take care of business. And especially in this area, if you lose a spouse, not having the regrets in your life. Don't you think, Greg, that's a huge thing?
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And I think the word you're looking for there is proactive. I think
Proactive.
there's a lot of really good information in the book that if you can do it in a timely manner, it's proactive and it can really make a difference in the here and now, what you're doing every day. And that's something that you just have intentions of doing and, frankly, never get to. And that's where the regrets come from. It's interesting. You're talking about, you covered a lot of ground back there, but let me reflect back on something. I left the corporate world many years ago to start my career in business coaching practice. And as a result, my wife and I get to spend literally a lot of days, 24 hours, at least we're in the same house, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And I must say we were both a little concerned when we made that decision for me to come home. But it's been one of the most awesome decisions. And it's such a gift that we get to spend that time together. And we just, really appreciate being together. And so I hope other people can, share that same kind of togetherness with their spouse.
That's exciting. That is, and I started my my other business. I have a tree and wildlife management business that I do, and I've done for several years. And it's basically, I'm a solopreneur in that, along with my speaking engagements, of course, writing my books, and then our podcast here, the Finishing on Fire radio show, all this stuff that I'm involved with. But the freedom of having your own business. Now, if you're a workaholic, it's a problem.
Yep.
But if you manage things correctly, and my business, my tree and wildlife management business, it allows me a lot of flexibility, and we love it. Glenda and I, with her job, she works in the hospital, and she's got these 12-hour shifts, and she's got, works 2 or 3 days, and then she's off 2 or 3 days, and a lot of flexibility in her schedule. And I tell you what, when the weather's bad and I can't do some of my work and so forth, or we just decide, hey, let's go to a movie today.
Yes.
Okay. We just pick up and go.
Right.
Or we want to go for a walk down on the Ohio River down in Newburgh. We'll just go for a walk, or we want to go out for lunch. Hey, let's go for lunch. And excuse me, that is so exciting to have that freedom to do that, because we really enjoy those times together, and the freedom of, and by being proactive, like you said, that's a good word, proactive. You look for those opportunities and you take advantage of those opportunities, and don't just, as you're young, you think, I've got all the time in the world. I've got all the time in the world. But as we see, and we've talked about in these past episodes, we do not have all the time in the world. And I think we're fooling ourselves, aren't we?
Yeah, exactly. So what do you, so tell me, one of the observations my wife and I have had is that we see couples where one of the spouses passes away, and you either see one of two things happen. It seems either that person is thrown into a situation where they're kind of disconnected and lost, and they just seem to flounder, or on the other side, they may, go through a time of mourning, of course, but they go through a recovery period, and they end up thriving because they've got all these relationships. So that's kind of our, takeaway that we've seen. I don't know, what have you and Glenn have seen?
Yeah. And any major event in life, and we talked about on the last episode, these are black flag events where your life just stops
right
on a dime, and your whole life, your whole world is turned upside down. And then how you recover from that or how you move ahead will determine, what quality of life that you have. And I guarantee you,
Yes.
your spouse wants you to have a good life. They do not want you to go through misery and suffering at
Right.
their loss. And if they really love you, obviously. And my wife, shoot fire, she wants me to be happy, and I want her to be happy. If something happens to me, I want her to be very content and happy. Now she'll probably shed a few tears for the first 2 hours, and then she's good.
Maybe a little longer than that, but yeah, I totally agree
Uh,
with you. Yeah, we want our spouses to thrive
yeah,
after we've left this earth, and and this, they would want the same for us. So I
yeah.
think that's a good place to be with one another, to be mutually want the best for each other.
Yeah, yeah. And one of the things I want to bring up from the book,
Mhm.
one of the ways that you can help prepare your wife for that and your relationship to be strong in that is to live today in a proactive way. And going back to chapter, I believe it's chapter 12 here. I'll look here. So yeah,
Yep.
it's called Target People. And I'm going to read just a little excerpt from this. It's Finishing on Fire. And that's the book you can get on Amazon #1 bestseller. I'm excited about that. That's pretty cool.
Mhm.
And what I'm talking about here in this chapter is targeting. And what you do when we have our 2-day workshops for men, we have 12 men, 2-day workshops. We'll give a little plug for that. It's exciting. This is one of those things we do. We get an actual, like a target that you would buy at a hunting store or any sports store that would have a target. So if you want to go, like shooting archery or guns or pellet guns or BB, whatever, but you have targets. And I have a picture in here in the book of a target. And I tell people we need to target the most important people in our life, which should be our spouse, #1, in the bullseye,
Mhm.
and really focus on that bullseye. Because when you're in an event, say you're doing target shooting, and matter of fact, I'll tell you real quick, I had a buddy when I worked for the U.S. government, and he was shooting for the Olympic team
Wow.
with a rifle, 22 rifle Olympic team, and he was telling me about it. He showed me one of his targets. And he said, yeah, he said, I shot, this target, I shot 5 bullets, and he had a hole right in the middle, not in the bullseye, but in the middle of the bullseye. Okay. and if you look at a target, you've got the bullseye, which is a ring, and sometimes they're like, a couple inches in diameter. And then you got a second ring, and then you got a third ring. That's just a typical bullseye. Or just look at a Target store.
Uh-huh.
Not a Walmart, but a Target, and you'll see a target. Okay. And you all know what that is, but he showed me his target, and it had a bullseye, and in the very center of the bullseye was a single hole. And he said he had, 5 shots on this particular target. And I said, where'd the other bullets go? And he said, went through the same hole,
Yeah.
the center of that target.
That's amazing.
And I'm like, oh my gosh, that's so crazy. And it's like, yeah, apparently he was really good. He's actually from Indianapolis. Really a neat guy. But anyway, what I want to do, and Greg, I know we've talked about, how do we make our listeners, how do we make your life better? And this is it, by helping you target the people that really matter to you. Okay. #1, put them in the center, and #1 should be your spouse. So I'm going to read here in chapter 12 about targeting. It said, you always start with your spouse, since she is #1. If she is not #1, then you have to develop a game plan to get that changed. This is the person you pledged your life to. At one time, you were over the moon in love with them. They also felt the same about you. Take your mind back to those glory days. Remind yourself of who you are and who they are. Successfully finishing on fire requires a strong and happy marriage. After 35 years of marriage, I can promise you one thing, and then we're going to go into a quote here, but you need, if if your wife or your spouse is not number one on your target, you need to figure that out, and you need to
Mhm.
back up and say, wait a minute. What do you mean? My mother-in-law is number one, or my mom, or whatever. It's your spouse. When you get married, you become one, and she should be your sole, your number one priority. Okay.
Sure.
Then your immediate, children, your family, and of course, mom and dad. I'm not saying you completely abandon people. I'm just saying your wife, your spouse is number one. So, but here's my funny quote from the book here. Now, if you're a horse person, if you like to ride horses, have you ever ridden horses, Greg?
Yeah, but I'm not very good at it. But yes, I have.
Did you ever get thrown off?
No, thankfully.
I've ridden horses a good bit, not a ton. We actually, my son and I, when we went to Ireland, we went on a business trip over to Ireland, and we flew in, and we went out to a horse farm real close to. I'm trying to think what that town was. We flew into Shannon, and then across Ireland to Dublin, and we stayed in Dublin several days. And then we went to a castle. We actually stayed at, it's called Dromoland Castle. It was really cool. It was neat. We stayed in the castle. It was cool. But one of the activities we could do is go out and ride horses. And so my son Adam was with me, and he took the trip. Glenda, she's afraid to fly to Ireland. I don't know what the deal was. She was a little more scared. But so Adam and I, we went riding horses, and it was pretty neat. It was a neat experience. But I'm like you. I've never been thrown off, but I don't want to spend too much time on one because I'm sure I will get thrown off. But if you are a horse person, you're gonna get this one immediately. If you're not, you need to look it up because it is really funny. Okay. But this is my point. Okay. If you treat your wife like a thoroughbred, she won't turn into an old nag. If you treat your wife like a thoroughbred, she won't turn into an old nag. And Greg, we don't want to live with an old nag. I tell you that.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. Don't work on making that come true. I should.
And the funny thing about that, the good thing, the quote is, it's our actions, the way we treat our spouse, that turns them into the old nag. That creates an atmosphere where they become isolated or defensive or whatever, because we haven't treated them like a thoroughbred. Because I guarantee you, where we live, we're close to Kentucky and Lexington, especially Louisville. Lexington is like the horse capital of the world. If you drive through there on Interstate 64 and down through that area, oh my gosh, just miles and miles of beautiful horse farms and beautiful horses. And those are thoroughbreds, and they're treated very well, very well. And so they perform very well in turn. And that's what we should do is treat our wives, our spouses, like a thoroughbred. And then we don't have that. And that's the proactive part of it. And then we don't have the regrets when the time comes, if something happens. So that's what I wanted to quote out of that book there.
Love it. Love it. So you want to, I was going to talk a little bit today. We talked about one of our segments is Last Lap Learning. I got a book on that one.
And now it's time for Last Lap Learning.
One of the books that my wife and I have enjoyed, and actually we did it with a few other couples as well and then discussed it. It's called The 5 Love Languages. It's by Dr. Gary Chapman. It's been around for a long time. Actually, I got a copy of it here. Yeah. I'm sure it's changed by now. This is an older copy, but the quick summary, and I can save you some time and some money, but here's the here's the quick summary. So
get out your pen and pencil.
Yeah. So like the title says, 5 love languages. So
and this is not like Chinese or Spanish or French or whatever.
No. So
they're easy.
Here's the 5 of them. I'll run down here in a second, but so the idea is that you want to be observant enough And some of this may be a little, try things out, see what works, see what kind of feedback you get on the 5 things. Because actually, when I think about these and what resonates with my wife, it can change over time a little bit. And there's kind of a little bit of a hierarchy. Maybe there's a top 2 out of the 5. And by the way, this works for kids as well. So there's a family edition. Yep, there's a family edition too. So think about that. But here's the 5. Number 1 is words of affirmation. And so that is those positive, uplifting words of appreciation that we can pass along to our spouse. You may have a spouse that goes through a whole day, especially if you're not with each other. And maybe there's not necessarily something that's really positive and kindly said. And so that's where you can make a huge difference with that. Number 2, quality time. That's focused time, making the most out of a day and being fully present. Really super important. And I'm sure you may have had time when you find out that Glenda just wanted you to focus on her, go do something together, how important that can be, right? Number 3.
Yes.
Number 3, this is one we probably think about a lot with our spouses, and that's receiving gifts. So
jewelry, chocolates.
Well, exactly. Yeah. Like a little appreciation, through a gift. Think about walking when we've been on a cruise together, you and your wife and me and my wife, and going, I remember going through Puerto Rico and going through some of the various shops and looking at all kinds of jewelry, and that makes your spouse's eyes light up.
Oh man, it's almost like it just turns some kind of switch in their head, and they just, oh wow, it's like they lose control of their senses.
And some guys do that too, with like watches and things. All right, number 4, acts of kindness. And so those can be really simple, but doing little things. It could be chores, cleaning dishes, taking care of the kids, especially maybe doing something that she doesn't necessarily enjoy doing, taking that off of her hands and just surprising her by doing it. Or maybe something, the day's been really crazy and there's something that really has to be taken care of, and you just make it go away. There's nothing like that.
Something I did today, just real quick. I like to pop popcorn on the stove. I put in a little olive oil. I turn up the stove. I have a pan, a big saucepan at the lid, and I throw in a few kernels. And then when they start popping, then I dump in the batch and do that. And then I dump it in a huge bowl. I pop it up and dump it in a huge bowl. And sometimes I neglect to wash out the pan, and the lid. It's just kind of a greasy man. I set it off to the side on the counter. And for some reason today, I looked at that and I thought that needs to be cleaned up. And I went over and I washed it and I put it away. My wife came in. I thought she was going to faint. She's like, she said, "Thank you for cleaning up your mess. Thank you for cleaning the pan." And it wasn't a big deal, but it was a big deal.
Exactly. That's a perfect illustration. Yeah.
Yeah. Just a few hours ago. It was great. So, hey, it made me happy because I realized it meant something to her.
Yeah, exactly. There's probably a few more things on that list she probably could itemize for you too. But all right, number 5. Number 5 is physical touch. And so that could be a massage, something that she really likes.
Back scratch.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh my gosh, she loves a back scratch.
Yep. So those are the quick 5, and it's just fun to experiment with them. If you really are bad at figuring this stuff out, you can always ask too.
Let's go through these again. So words of affirmation, kind words. Okay. People, we all need that. Okay. Right. Number 2 is quality time, focused time, really being present.
Be present.
Okay. With them. 3 would be gifts. And actually they don't have to be, it's not the money thing.
Exactly.
it's the act of giving them a gift, of thinking of them when you're not together, thinking enough that you're like, hey, you know what, she would like this. And it could be little stuff. It could be something that you make, if you're a crafty person, you can do that. So
Perfect.
gifts. Number 3. Yeah. People think you have to spend money and it makes them happy. It's like baloney. My granddaughter, she's 3.5, going to be 4 this summer. My wife has always wanted to buy her gifts and all that stuff. And I'm like, Glenda, she doesn't want all those gifts because she's got, all this family that buys her stuff. She wants you and your focus and your time.
Perfect.
That's what she wants. And so that's a gift. So, and then the 4th one, you have acts of kindness, words of affirmation, quality time, gifts, acts of kindness, like the popcorn pan, and then the physical touch. And it's not, guys, it's not the sexual thing.
Right.
Of course, it may lead to that, but we're not going to get into that. But the physical touch. And a lot of times, like you said, she comes home from work and sometimes her shoulders are stiff. I mean, her muscles are really up, she's uptight. And if I just start rubbing her shoulders, oh my gosh, she just like, she said, sometimes she'll do this. She says, boy, if I was a dog and had a tail, I'd wag it. So it makes her happy. And so, and a lot of times I'll when we go to bed, she's had a hard day. She's been on her feet all day, 12 hours, and her ankles are hurting. And she says, would you rub my ankles? And so I go around over there in the bed and I set her leg up on my lap so I can get a pretty good grip there. And then I'll rub her ankles and stuff. And you talk about that, just, man, she is happy as could be. It hurts her because she, I'm working some of those kinks out, but it really is, it's an act of kindness. It's a physical touch. So I guess that counts as 2, doesn't it?
That one's kind of a crossover. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's a crossover, but yeah, physical touch. And that means a lot. It means a lot. The back scratch. Oh my gosh. She loves a back scratch. And she says, now you don't do it as good as my dad did. Her dad's passed away, but she'll take it and she loves it. So yeah, those are things that do not cost you money. You don't have to be a rich man to fulfill these with your relationship with your spouse.
Exactly.
Your number 1 target person. Wow. Those are good.
Perfect. Good. Yeah. So try them out. Hope our listeners try them out too. Yeah.
Please, listeners, it doesn't take money to impress your spouse, your wife. She doesn't want that stuff. If she does, she's being shallow. But really, you should buy her, nice things if you can. Yeah. But really, what she wants, these other things. And like you said, Greg, good point. Play around with them and figure out really what her deal is. What really lights her fire. Pardon my pun. What is it that kind of trips her trigger? And so you'll figure that out. And of course it may depend on her mood or the situation, what she needs, what kind of comfort she needs. And a lot of times you talk about words of affirmation. A lot of times our wives don't want us to fix the problem. They just want us to listen.
Absolutely.
So we don't have to say words. We don't have to say anything. They come home and they just need to kind of unload and say, this happened and that happened. And this makes me angry. And I'm so disappointed and all this. And I'm sitting there thinking, okay, well, here's what you need to do. And here's what you need to do. And really what we need to do is shut our mouth and listen and let them talk it out. And then, and that may be it. And that is huge for people. So maybe, listening is to be one, be a good listener. So, yeah. So, all right.
Exactly.
Good stuff. Good
Perfect.
stuff. Tell me the book again. Give me the name and the author and all that.
Yes. The 5 Love Languages. Dr. Gary Chapman.
Gary Chapman, the 5 Love Languages. Very simple, but wow, powerful. Yep. And again, we're talking about in this episode, the death of our spouse. If our spouse passes away, have we adequately prepared ourselves and our relationship for that departure? And part of it is, excuse me, the word you used, being proactive, doing these things on a daily basis that really build the strength of your relationship and make your life really the best it can be. And
Yep.
that's what this is about, is making your life the very best it can be. And if your spouse relationship with your wife is struggling, just go back to these basics and do and practice these things every day. And it's not hard. It's just simple. It's very simple, but it takes focus and it takes attention. Okay. But it's not something like climbing a mountain of any kind. It's very basic. Okay. So
Yeah. Blocking and tackling.
yeah, hey, for us big football fans, blocking and tackling. Yeah, you block, you tackle, you kick through the uprights, you score, you're going to win, and you're going to score big.
Exactly.
And I was with a gentleman this week. I talked to him a little bit, and he talked about his wife had complained that he was a workaholic, and his daughter said something about him being working on vacation and all this stuff. And I said, dude, you need to cut that out. When your daughter is complaining about it, and your wife talks about it, if you're on vacation, quit working so much. That's something you got to get, because listen, when the time comes, if your spouse passes away, that won't matter a hill of beans. It won't mean squat to you. All that work that you did, those late nights that you didn't go to your daughter's, dance recital or piano thing or her sporting event or whatever, that's not going to mean anything. That work, no, you just drop what you're doing and go. So get your priorities right. So if you want to live a life where you're finishing on fire, that's what it's about, is your family, targeting the right people, spending focused time with the right people. That will make your life change today in a heartbeat. And that's what you want. So, all right, Greg, we've gone through the book. Let's talk a little bit about what we call spousal advice. This is a treating our spouse. I don't know. It's spousal care. I don't know what we call it, care or advice.
Care advice.
Care advice. One thing that strikes me, if you want to really prepare for this situation, the death of a spouse, and it could be your death or theirs, really. But one thing Dave Ramsey talks about, I love Dave Ramsey and I love what he stands for and the basic teachings he has to help people in everyday life. And one thing he talks about in his book, it's The Legacy Journey. That's one of his books. Excuse me. He talks about the legacy box. And it is actually, it's not a lock box that you keep at the bank. He said it's a box. It's like a love box is what it is. It's, if you love your wife and children, you're going to have this box. And in that legacy box is all your important papers. Okay. Basically, your will, what is your last will, your instructions upon your death? What do you want done? Life insurance, any of your life insurance policies, boom, have them in there. Financial accounts. If you have different, business accounts or checking accounts, whatever, and your wife may not know about or have all the details, we'll put them in there and have that where they can just go right to that box, open the box, and they've got all the information. It's got, the passwords, it's got the locations, the company names, all that financial stuff, put it all in the box. And this is something, Greg, I do. I'm smart some days, and then some days I'm tree stump stupid, but but I tell my wife, I said, Glenda, don't make me guess, don't make me, don't assume I'm going to know something to do. You need to tell me. And if it's really important, here's what you do. You get your hands and you put them on my cheeks and look me right in the eye and say, Dave, do this. and just make it simple. And and I tell you what, Greg, I just, she so many times over the years, and this is part of our communication, I keep telling her that, say, Glenda, if you really want me to know something, you want me to do something, put your hands on my cheeks, look into my eyes. I mean, eyeball to eyeball, and say, Dave, do this. And and guys, I'm telling you, this is what we're doing. This hands on the face, this legacy box is essentially you. If you pass or if she passes, it's going to be the same way because your brain's going to be scrambled. I guarantee you.
Yes.
If my life passes or my wife passes, my brains are going to be scrambled. Okay. And I need to have something very concrete that I can hang on to. And the same with her, if I pass away, she needs this box. And basically this is hands on the face. You pull out document after document or item after item, and you know exactly what to do. Okay. There's no questions about what you do. And this legacy box, I think, is so critical. And I believe what Dave Ramsey's saying, this, if you love your spouse, you're going to put together this legacy box.
I love that idea. That's a great idea because, lives are complicated and it can be, and you may have a lot of important information that's just spread everywhere. And we all have the best intentions to think, oh, I'll clean that up one day. I'm going to make a list or something like that. At least get it all in one place. Yeah. And then, so it's easy. And then you can go through and do the documenting of it. And of course, it'd be even better if you can sit down together and just familiarize each other with what's there. So, because there's always questions.
Yeah. Yeah.
I love that.
Glenda and I, we talk about this from time to time. I say, now, Glenda, my wishes, when I pass away, here's what I want you to do. Yeah. And so we're on the same page with that, but it needs to be written down, because like I said, when this black flag moment occurs, our life stops. Our life absolutely stops. Everything is totally upside down, and it's scary. It's confusing. It's so emotional, and yet, we don't need to make it any worse for our spouse. And so,
exactly,
guys, as you listen, I'm telling you, you need to do this.
Yeah, you'll be appreciated for it.
That's
so,
right.
So let's go on to the one I was going to share, which is actually dovetails nicely with that. And so the concept, and people call this different things, but I've heard it called your board of personal advisors. And so essentially what that is, you can use it as a thing should one of you pass away. But even more helpful is to use it while you were alive, and just think about who are the people that I'm going to go to for advice to get the best input, people that are wise, that are going to help you make decisions, when you need decisions. Maybe you're thinking about, a lot of things happen in life. You're thinking about, I don't know, selling your home or something like that, or what to do. What are some choices maybe with an elderly parent? There's people that you can go to and, get wisdom from. But anyway, so that same group of people can be super helpful for either you, if your spouse passes away, or for your spouse, if you pass away. That my wife and I have talked about this, like, who are you going to go to for financial advice about making decisions, immediately afterwards? If there's life insurance, like you said a while ago, what to do with it and how to spend it, and, where to maybe save it. What are the things to do? And so it's really clear. We've named off a list of people that she would seek out, and, me for the same as well. And so I think it just helps to know, to think through that and know that you've got people in your life that you can trust for sound, quality, wise advice.
That's good. I like that. Matter of fact, I just yesterday was talking with a good friend of mine, and we're about the same age. And I told him, I said, listen, Carl, if something happens to me, you need to take care of my wife. And I mean that in a way of business. I said, she will need help. We've got several vehicles, we've got trailers, I've got equipment, and he can get rid of that. He can get it on the market, get it sold, liquidate that stuff. She would have no clue when to even start. And anybody could come in and take advantage of that. And, but Carl, and I've told him several times, and I've told my wife, I said, same thing, Carl, if something happens to me, he's going to come in and he's going to take care of getting rid of that stuff and getting you the best deal. Cause he does that stuff all the time. And so you're exactly right, Greg. That's a great idea to have your board of advisors that, and depends on what the area of expertise they have. Some of it may be in relationships, and then which is important, and some of them it's in business and different things, and financial or whatever. And so, wow, that's a good idea. Just get that list of people, talk to them, and glean all that knowledge and wisdom from them. That's great. That's
exactly
great.
Because as we know, we can plan things now as best we're able to forecast, but things change, and by the time something actually happens, the situation may look different, and so you want somebody to be able to speak into that well. So yeah, try it out.
Yeah, good. All right. Did you have another point on this? You were talking about special relationship. What needs to be said, or what was it you were talking about?
Well, I guess it kind of connects with that as well too, but we often, and we talk about this a lot in, as you mentioned, the 2-day seminar, we talk about what needs to be said that to this point has been unsaid. And, and so it could be like we talk about in the seminar, which is writing a letter of appreciation. Could be to a spouse, a son, a daughter. It could be anyone in your life. But there's so many things in the case of a spouse that maybe we've said them, but it's been a while, or maybe it would be something that would be just so helpful to be able to pull out again, at your passing, and for them to reflect on. And it could be even be a personal message that would be super important. Maybe it's some scripture or something like that was important. That would be very important for that time to just, for her to lean on. And so I think, just remember, turn the unsaid into the said. Do that as much as possible.
That's good. I like that. That's good, because as guys, we're bad about this. It's like, yeah, she knows I love her. Baloney. You need to tell her. She needs to hear it, and you need to say, the compliment things, the things that she does that you appreciate so much, and you don't have to look very far to realize you can appreciate a lot of things about your spouse.
Yes.
And I know with my spouse, so many things she does, and I have to sit down and look around and say, wow, if I didn't have her, things just would be tough. They'd be a lot different than they are, and just appreciate that. So saying what needs to be said, don't leave things unsaid, and that will change your relationship a lot. That's a good point. I appreciate you doing that, or saying that, Greg. Another thing I had on that, and then we'll move on, is the ongoing evidence of appreciation. So we talk about words. Sometimes I'll leave little yellow sticky notes on the mirror in the bathroom, and I'll just write a note, saying, hey, somebody in this house loves you very, very much. And of course, there's nobody else here but me, because the dog went to my niece, and the kids have moved out and got married. So, so it's funny. But one day I really freaked her out. She was at the hospital working, and I was out about town running errands, and I had a key in my pocket to her car. And so I dropped by the hospital parking lot, and I wrote a note and I stuck it in her car.
Oh my.
So when she got done with work, she opened the car, she got in, and there's a big yellow sticky note, on the dash that said, hey, somebody really, really loves you. And
you didn't sign it.
I did. I did not sign it. Yeah. Stalker number 1. This is a creepy guy down the road, and I've been watching you. And you know what? We just recently changed vehicles, but she had that yellow sticky note in her car for like 6 months. And she keeps her car cleaned out. I mean, like if I leave a little straw paper in there or a little bottle of water, any little thing, she's like, oh, get that out of my car. You know, we got to keep this car clean, you know, and she's very particular, which is okay. That's good. You know, she's particular, but she left that little yellow sticky note that didn't go with the rest of the car in there for months. And so what that told me was that touched her heart. So
absolutely, that's perfect.
That was pretty cool. But and that didn't cost me anything. It's just a little bit of proactive, thinking,
forethought,
just a little bit of time and just forethought, and saying, you know what, she's at work, she's working hard. I'm just kind of running around today, kind of loose. Going to go eat lunch by myself or somewhere or with somebody else, and I'll just drop by and do that. And that's pretty cool. So. Just simple stuff. So
yeah, perfect.
All right, Greg.
So let's move on to our special segment that I know our audience enjoys, and that's Wodsie's World.
And now it's time for Wodsie's World. Yes, Dave Wadsworth's true life animal stories.
So how this works is I pull out a number. Dave has a list of 43, 44 different animal encounters. I give him a number and he has to, speak off the cuff about a story in regard to that. Today, we're going to do this special since we're talking about our spouse, and we're going to do turtle doves. So it's been specially added to the list. Take it away.
Turtle doves. And Greg, this is funny. Of course, all my life, Wadsworth, with the name Wadsworth, they always call us Wadsie. Wadsie 1 and Wadsie 2. When we played football, my brother was Wadsie 2, I was Wadsie 1. But so Wodsie's World, I tell you what, I have so much fun in life, and especially in nature. I'm out a lot. And I have so many encounters with animals. It's crazy. And I've got so many animal stories and related stories, but the list has 43, 44 different animals that I've had encounters with, but most of the animals on the list, I've had multiple encounters with. So, depends on the animal, but turtle doves, I'll have to go back a ways on turtle doves. I could tell you how they coo. I remember as a boy listening to them cooing in the trees and stuff. But my granddad, he had this huge oak tree right close to his house, right in the driveway. As you come down the driveway, this monster oak tree. That sucker had been there since Abraham Lincoln walked the territory. I mean, around here. That thing was it was probably 160 years old or more. It was huge. Okay. And the limbs would go way out, stretch way out over the driveway, flat, and they were high. And one thing about turtle doves, they make the crappiest nests of any birds I've ever seen. Oh my gosh. We would climb trees and we'd find a turtle dove's nest, and they had white eggs, real pretty white eggs, but they only had 2. I never did see more than 2 eggs in a turtle dove's nest, but they were like very flat. They were like loose sticks, little sticks, and they were kind of woven together, but it was fairly flat, just a little bit of a dip. And so if we would have a wind of any kind, they would just blow out of the nest. I mean, if a thunderstorm came through, the eggs, and so we would find the turtle dove eggs on the ground, after a windy day or a storm came through. And I'm like, you guys are stupid. You need to make the nest deeper, and stuff. But we'd climb up and see that. And it's like, we could do a better job on this nest if you'd let us help you, but they never listened to us. So but anyway, I tell you what, I'm not going to give you any more details but I do have an encounter talking about turtle doves and blue jays. Okay. And so we'll save that for another one. That'll be another show, but I just want to tell you about the turtle doves. They're gray. They have a light colored belly on them. The ones we've got, I call them mourning doves, I guess. And, but they would be around. I remember the noise from when they would take off, the chirping from their wings, when they would fly and stuff. It's just kind of weird, all these memories. And it's been years ago, but just their nest, I was so disappointed. I always hated to see animals hurt and injured in any way. And so it did really, it bothered me after these storms or after a windy day and finding these eggs, cracked and on the ground in the driveway. And some of them had the little bird in there that had developed quite a while and was almost ready to hatch. And yet they were, blown out of the nest because they wouldn't listen to me about how to build their nest. And so they were, I don't know, but I just remember how their nest was just like it was almost like a pancake with a divot in the middle of it, just very, but it just wasn't very deep. And it just, the structure was fairly, whimsical, I guess, but it just, when it was windy and those limbs would kind of teeter and rock, and then also the wind pushing through, we would find all kinds of turtle dove eggs and the loss of life there. And it just broke my heart.
Oh my gosh.
So that's turtle doves. That's a story on turtle doves. And I want to tell you more about the blue jays and the turtle doves, but I'll save that for another day. You may draw out a number for blue jays, or you may draw turtle doves again on the numbers, and then I'll just have to tell that story. So, so there's my turtle dove story.
Perfect. Yes. Thank you for sharing that. That's awesome. They're not nature's engineers.
No, they are not. Oh, it's a wonder how they survive. You'd think, wow, but they are lovey-dovey. I mean, they seem to be couples, and and I always enjoy seeing them together as couples and stuff on the nest. And I don't know all the details, but yeah. So that's one of my experiences with turtle doves.
All right. Well, you ready to wrap things up here? Go to our 2-minute warning.
We got our 2-minute warning. This is for all you football guys. And when I talk about this book, Finishing on Fire, you can get it on Amazon by Dave Wadsworth. It's a paperback. You just go on there, Finishing on Fire, and it has a lot of these ideas about everyday life and making everyday life just much, much better. And just simple things. If you get this book and you implement just one idea, it will absolutely rock your world. I really believe that. Just what we've talked about, on this episode, Greg. I mean, these 5 love languages, just any of those 5 that you can figure out whatever your wife likes, just try a little bit, just little stuff. Let me tell you something. You will get her on fire for you and your relationship, and you will be pleasantly surprised at the changes that it can make. And you won't have those regrets. When the time comes, if something happens to your wife, you won't have the regrets and say, boy, I wish I'd have, wrote her notes or told her what I thought of her, or done these little acts of kindness, or, really been proactive and stuff. So our 2-minute warning.
And now it's time for the 2-minute warning.
Here's what we want to do today. Here's your challenge. This is your warning. This is what I want you to do. Write your spouse a card or a letter, either one, just a little card. If you're kind of wordy like me, you might write a whole letter. Don't make it too much, but basically just write them a card or letter, and truly, like Greg said a while ago, say what you think, as long as it's good. I mean, don't write any bad stuff.
Don't write what you're mad.
Yeah. Forget all the bad thoughts. When you're in a good mood, tell your spouse what you think of them. Be specific. Maybe bring up a point or two, something they have done or something they do on a regular basis that really makes your life better. That really you appreciate, but you don't seem to appreciate it too much. But maybe you appreciate it, but you don't tell them. Okay. So here's your warning. Write the letter, write the little card, do it now. You got 24 hours from the time you hear this, do it in 24 hours. Because if you don't, you're going to put it off. I know how you are. I'm telling you, if you're like me.
How we all are.
Yep. Yeah. But don't leave things unsaid. If you don't leave things unsaid, you won't have to have those regrets. Okay. So when Glenda goes, she's going to know how much I love her and the things I appreciate about her. I mean, what's really important. And Greg, you're the same with Sherry. I'm sure that you try to give her that reinforcement on a regular basis as to your appreciation,
Sure.
you know, for her and what she has meant to you and your family and all that. So that's the challenge, you know, that's our 2-minute warning.
Yeah. Make it happen.
Yeah. It's not hard, guys. It's not hard. I'm telling you, if you do this, if you write this letter or a card, I don't care what it is, write it, give it to them, be very straightforward and be very honest, you know, say these things and just be kind and say what you need to say. And I'm telling you, it will change your life. It absolutely will change your life.
Thank you for listening to the Finishing on Fire radio show. Be sure to visit finishingonfire.com for more great content. Go light your world.